All right, everyone. Thank you all for being patient with me, both here and online, as we are getting ready to start session number 17 of Studying Abraham. You may notice that hopefully the camera looks a little bit better. I really tried hard for a while this afternoon to get the camera to look right. I have no idea. But we are going to continue on. We are going to get through the end of chapter 19, and we're going to cover all of chapter 20. All right? I think we'll be able to do it. Chapter 20 is pretty short. A lot of this is just pretty much straightforward. Sometimes you'll read Scripture and you'll say, I think there's more beneath the surface, or there's an area I've got to go explore. And then sometimes it's, hey, that's the biblical account. I'm just going to teach through it. That's my job. That's why they pay me the big bucks around here. So let's open up in a word of prayer and we'll get started tonight. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to study your word. We thank you for the account of Abraham, the importance that it brings for doctrine, for teaching. And so with that, I pray we'd honor you tonight in sound doctrines. In Christ's name I pray, amen. All right, studying Abraham tonight. Our objective, we've covered this before, we're going to study Abraham and then we'll move on to other passages that reference him, but we need to know Abraham first. That's my premise. So tonight, session number 17, Lot, Abraham, and Abimelech. I didn't know what else to call it. These are the three major players. There's others, Lot's daughters, Abraham's wife, whatnot. But here are the major people we're going to be seeing tonight. And that brings us to Abraham looks toward Sodom. Over here in verse 26, we had just left off with Lot's wife looking back. She was behind him, and she became a pillar of salt looking back at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And then it immediately jumps to Abraham, verse 27. And Abraham got up early in the morning. I'm going to take that to be the next day. So Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. The next morning, Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. You'll recall earlier in the chapter, he stood before the Lord and was overlooking Sodom and Gomorrah. So I think he had a good vantage point looking over the plain. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all of the land of the plain. Remember, there were 5 cities that were in that plain. All right, Sodom, Gomorrah. The other ones I can't remember except for Zor. Zor was the smaller city that Lot fled to. And so he was looking and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. So it was destroyed. He saw the smoke rising up. I looked on maps to kind of estimate about how far maybe Abraham would have been. He could have been closer, but I would say he was probably somewhere around 30 miles away from where the cities were, seeing the smoke rising up. Unless he had traveled significantly closer, I don't know. Even let's just say he was 10 miles. Let's cut that, by 2/3. He was 10 miles away. To be able to see smoke rising from a fire 10 miles away, that's a massive amount of smoke to be rising into the air. I don't know. I wasn't around for St. Helens. I know that some of those in the crowd tonight may have remembered. Was there ash in Oklahoma from the eruption, or?
I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah.
I don't remember there.
Okay.
I just remember it happening in different parts of the
right. Well, it was in Washington. Yeah. Is that where St. Helens is? Okay, I thought so. So I know there was talk of some of those, like in Colorado, New Mexico. They got some of the ash that had drifted. I was just trying to think of what could we picture. I mean, I guess the wildfires of California that seem to happen every other year. What I did though look up was some instances of cities burning. This is a photo of 1901, the Great Fire. Anybody ever heard of that term? Well, this one's actually Jacksonville, Florida. What happened was there was a mattress factory and the stuffing that was used for the mattresses, single coal landed on the stuffing, and it sent the factory up in a blaze, and some 2,500 homes were destroyed in the Jacksonville, the Great Fire of 1901, as they call it. And this is an actual picture of it. So you can see the, yeah, he wasn't there for that. Okay, I didn't know. But smoke, yeah. But you can see the black smoke rising up there. Just kind of gives you a picture to a degree of just how massive it would have been. The language used, like a furnace, that does communicate to me that it's still burning hot. These are not just smoldering coals, that this is still a very significant fire, a lot of heat. You only see the reference to a furnace a few times. Obviously, you would think of maybe 3 guys that were thrown into the fiery furnace. I'm trying to be super spiritual and remember their Hebrew names. And I can't think of them. Goodness gracious. I used to remember them, and I'd be so smart because I would list off 3 names, 3 Hebrew names. People say, well, I've never heard of them. You never heard of them? They were thrown into a fiery furnace. And then they, yes. And they would always say, well, I had heard of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Well, yeah, that's them, but they had a Hebrew name. And now I can't even look smart because I don't remember the Hebrew names. I'm just going to move on. But you see the reference to a furnace a few times. Jesus also makes a reference to a furnace when it comes to the judgment of the wicked in the last days. So we saw hellfire, brimstone falling out of heaven onto the cities. This is maybe but a taste of the wrath of God that will come and the judgment of God that will come in the last days. So just some interesting things there to see that parallel, that correlation. And so, yeah, I thought let's find something. There's Jacksonville, Florida, engulfed in flames. Amazing as it sounds, only 7 people perished in that fire, but there were some 2,500 homes destroyed, and they called in the National Guard to rebuild a lot of the town in 1901. So, with that, a little bit of history there for you. And now let's move on here to verses 29. This section is going to be called Lot and His Daughters. That's about the best I can come up with, all right? And so let's get into this interesting passage. This is where the whole story takes a very bizarre turn. But let's see what leads up to the more infamous parts of this. Would you like me to make that a little bit bigger? I can increase the size. That a little bit better there. And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain, Abraham saw the smoke rising up like a furnace, that God remembered Abraham. Interesting statement there. It's almost, this is a step back, a little bit reflective here. Bigger picture, let me remind you of where we've been, where we're going. God remembered Abraham. If He remembers Abraham, there was also Lot. And so for Abraham's sake, He spared Lot. Abraham talked with God, would you destroy the city if there were 40 righteous, 35, and on it goes. And so Lot, thanks to Abraham, in his connections there, God remembering Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. This is just recapping what we've already seen here. And when He overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And so this is basically just the review to get you to verse 30. And in verse 30 here, and Lot went up out of Zoar. Now remember, originally, the angel told Lot, go to the mountains, all right? Get out of the plains, go to the mountains. And Lot said, well, if I go to the mountains, some evil may befall me, and I may die. I'm paraphrasing a little there, but that's the gist of it. And so Lot said, let me go to Zoar. It's but a little city. Let me go there. So the angel said, I'll spare Zoar. Go ahead and go to Zoar. But verse 30, clearly something changes very quickly because Lot went up out of Zoar. Now, we don't know how long this has been, But I'm going to say it really reads like this is all within a very short amount of time, okay? So Lot goes up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain. What mountain? I don't know. There's a lot of mountains in that region. If you were to look at the topography on a map, you would see a lot of elevation lines. So we don't really know exactly where this is, but the mountain close to Zoar, and his 2 daughters with him. What happened to his wife? Pillar of salt. What happened to his other daughters? His sons-in-law did not want to leave with them, so they perished. So it's just Lot and his daughters. For he feared to dwell in Zoar. And that's all it says. I did some looking, trying to see, hey, is there any theories? Is there anywhere that it may explain why he decided to leave? Just is what it is. Maybe because Lot got to Zoar and he thought, we're still a little bit too close to these burning cities. Let's just go ahead and keep moving. Maybe God decides to destroy Zoar. Maybe he got there and he realized the men of Zoar were, hey, these guys aren't a whole lot better than Sodom. We're just speculating. But the point is, he feared to dwell there. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. So all of his efforts, he pretty much wound up doing what the angel told him to in the first place. Now this is, like I said, where the story is going to take a very bizarre, strange turn. It's very infamous. You know where this is heading. And the firstborn said unto the younger, there's daughters here, our father is old. We don't know how old Lot is. He's younger than Abraham to some degree. Abraham's 100 at this time, so Lot's older. And then it says, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. I think the only way that we can take that and interpret that is what she said. Okay? Her statement is, there is not a man in all the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. If you think about what they've been through, they fled Sodom. They've seen the destruction, right? Hopefully not looking back, but they know what happened. It's destroyed. It's gone. They flee Zoar. The only reason Zoar was spared was because that's where Lot fled. We're speculating a little bit, but what if as soon as they left Zoar, Zoar was destroyed? That would almost kind of make sense because, like we said, they spared Zoar, the angels did, specifically because that's where Lot fled. As far as you know, let me use a modern term, the apocalypse just happened. You tell me, fire and brimstone falling down out of heaven, cities destroyed. They very likely would think this has been a cataclysmic end of the world event. We are the last people left. I'm going to take it for its plain reading. It's me, it's you, and our dad. That's it. There's nobody left. That was her determination. And so, with that, she does make this statement, there's no man to come in unto us. We're going to die out. We're not going to have any offspring. There's no more people to be had in the world. So she is going to propose this plan in this situation that they're in. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. So a few things here. Yeah, I know it's an infamous story. Verse by verse Bible study. You gotta love it. Why can't I just be some topical evangelical preacher? I just get to skip over everything. Wait till I do a verse by verse through Ezekiel one of these days. That'll be real fun. But let's go ahead and look here. First of all, make our father drink wine. Remember, I've been kind of an apologist for Lot. I think Lot gets a lot of unjust ridicule. He's looked down on. And I look at the testimony of the Bible. 2 Peter says Lot was just. All right. The daughters, the oldest makes the observation, Dad's not going to go along with this. We're going to have to get him drunk. All right, and we're going to see just how drunk they make him as the passage progresses. So Lot, not going to go with it on his own will here. This is their plan. So let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Now, that line there I think is important, that we may preserve seed of our father. You almost, if you can remove for just a moment the unsettling context, there is a hint of respect and almost reverence, right? We need to preserve the lineage of our father. There is not a man left. And if there's no man left, we will die, and our father's line, our father's seed, will perish. Okay, that is her motive. That's her reason. It's not really presented as one of unrighteous desire, right? It's more so, hey, we need to. This is our obligation to our father. It's really how she sees it. Is she mistaken? Well, maybe. If they're the last people on earth, if that's what she thinks, it's dire circumstances, right? We've talked about it before, being put in very extreme situations. So that's her plan. And then verses 33 through 34, they move on, and they go through with it. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And this tells you to the extent of Lot's drunkenness. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. He had no idea what was going on. I don't know, he's knocked out cold, blackout, I guess, is that what the kids say? Blackout drunk, whatever. He has no perception. This also does speak just Lot, right? He didn't go through with this of his own accord. He didn't realize what was going on. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. How much wine did they bring? I don't know how much wine they had, but to get him, I guess they had enough at the very least to get him really drunk 2 nights in a row.
Well, if the goal is to preserve the seed, then why do they both need to be pregnant? One of them can continue the line then.
And that's fine as well. We don't have any statement as to why both of them did it, other than they're both seeking to preserve the seed, I suppose. I didn't see any speculation as far as why both of them did, but that's their stated motivation, whatever it is. And so they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And so there's one of the most bizarre and strange stories in the Bible, and yet I want us to look at the whole story, the big picture, okay? You need to know.
Are you going to know, though? Because if there's no other...
Right.
They become pregnant?
Right, yeah. We're not going to hear about Lot anymore. But you'd have to imagine he probably would have found out. Yeah.
It's kind of like the handmaid, was he right to listen to the wife when she said, well, take the handmaid?
Right.
And Evan had mentioned the connection back to the garden. It's like, is this another time where he shouldn't have been so drunk to where this happened? He's failing.
Every time you see somebody get drunk in the Bible, it doesn't end well. Whether that's Uriah, well, I guess Uriah still did the right thing, but Uriah may be the only one that he got drunk and he didn't do anything bad as a result. But you think about Noah. He got drunk, and his son Ham, don't be a Ham, right? Saw his father's nakedness and everything. Yeah, it's always tied to bad things there. So with that being said, as we consider this passage of Lot and his daughters, we're going to now be introduced to the sons that were born, to the daughters. and to Lot. And so here's what it says, verse 37. And the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. All right, that's not mother of all bombs there, okay? Think about Ab in Hebrew. You should be familiar with that by now, father, okay? And then the Moab added to it there. I've got the meaning of the name here. I want to make sure I got it right. I'm very confident, but I also want to double check. The name means from father. Okay, Moab. It's a preposition. Moab, from father. We don't have to explain that. And the same is the father of the Moabites. You will go on to read in the Bible about the Moabites. We'll talk about the Moabites here in just a moment before we're all said and done. And the younger, she also bare a son and called his name Ben-Ami. Now hold on now, you Hosea students. Right? What is Ami? Lo-Ami, not my people. Right, so it is Ami. Anybody remember in a Hebrew what Ben means? Ben-Ami. It's a son. Ben, the movie Ben-Hur, son of Hur. Ben Joseph, Messiah. The Jewish people often talk about Messiah Ben Joseph. They almost have a dual Messiah view because they see in the text that there's a suffering Messiah and there's a conquering Messiah. Sometimes they'll refer to the suffering Messiah as Messiah Ben Joseph, son of Joseph. I just wish they'd realize that it's the same person. And it's both fulfilled in Christ. But son of my people. And he went on to be the same as the father of the children of Ammon. Ami, Ammon, Ammonites unto this day. Both of them play a significant role. Israel was not allowed to conquer the Ammonites because of Lot and God remembering Lot. Now, when it comes to the Moabites, you know how I like to do. I like to try to be an optimist. So I've really presented the daughters in the best light that I possibly could under the circumstances. I did a little bit of looking this afternoon how most preachers would try to teach through this. And basically what they do is they say, this is what happens when you become numb to sin and wickedness and perversion. Them daughters grew up living in wicked Sodom, and so they did this wicked thing with their wicked dad, right? And that's how they present it. I guess it's good if you want to do a sermon on you be careful who you are friends with, or whatever. That works good. But here's my thoughts. What if the daughters think, is it a little bit cold in here?
No, I'm seeing directly in here.
Oh yeah, you can move if you want to, I don't care. What if the daughters think, as they said, we're the last people. It's Dad, it's us. We need to preserve our father's seed because we remember that promise that was made. Genesis 3:15, the seed of woman will bruise the serpent's head. We've got to do what we've got to do to preserve the seed. Now you may say, well, you're kind of reading into it, possibly. But whether I'm reading into it or not, that's actually the case. Because you may remember a book in the Bible called Ruth. Ruth was a Moabite. She was of the people of Moab. And she married Boaz. And from him you got Jesse, and then you got David. So in this story, this is a testimony of the lineage of the Messiah. You can go back and you can go and read in Matthew's Gospel. And you can read the account of Ruth the Moabitess marrying Boaz, and she's a part of the family tree. So perhaps God saw that and in some way said, I'm going to honor the daughters being willing to preserve the seed for the sake of fulfilling the promise. And so therefore Moab was able to be a part of the lineage. There's a lot you can do with it. I just think it's so boring to turn every single lesson into application. Let me find a way to turn this into, you be careful who you spend time with. You'll become callous and numbed and you'll be all those things can be true. But I think the Bible's a fascinating thing, and there's a lot of stuff to consider and explore, and you'll never explore it if you're just focused on us all the time. So, interesting there. Maybe now we've covered a very strange story, but perhaps maybe consider the daughters of Lot in a little bit of a different light than maybe you would have before. So, moving on now, we are going to talk very briefly about a similar story. Deja vu, right? We have been here before. We have done this, all right? We're going to get into chapter 20, and here's what it says. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country. Well, why, Abraham? You're in the promised land. You're in the land of Canaan. Why are you traveling south? Very reminiscent of the Egypt account in Genesis chapter 12, right? He gets there, he plants his stake, and God says, I'm going to give this land to you and all of your children. And then it says, and Abraham continued to travel further south. What? Why? Just stay. That's the land promised to you, and yet here he goes. He's going to continue to travel to the south and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur. Do y'all remember Kadesh and Shur maybe from a previous chapter? Maybe Genesis chapter 16, when one Hagar fled out of from her mistress Sarah, and she went to Kadesh and Shur. It is down there towards Egypt. And so this is where they dwelled and sojourned in Gerar. Gerar we don't see mentioned a whole lot in the Bible, a few times, most of it here in early Genesis. We believe it is in the southern portion of the Gaza Strip. And what it's called today is, yep, that's it, UMM, if you look it up on a map. So modern city, Gerar, we think that's roughly where it is. Once again, I tried to do some speculation. I didn't even bother putting it in your notes because I didn't really find it worth mentioning, but they said, well, it's possible because the cities were destroyed, people stopped moving, and Abraham was short on, cash. He's looking for business to sell his livestock. I don't know. So he had to go somewhere. Another one said, well, news got around what happened between Lot and his daughters, and Abraham was embarrassed, so he got away, right? It doesn't tell us. It just says he kept moving. If nothing else, maybe there's a type or a foreshadowing of Israel just seeming to always want to remove themselves from what's promised to them. Think about them in Exodus. God's leading them to the land, right? This land I'm going to give to you, it's flowing with milk and honey. I promised it to your fathers. And then they just say, let's go back to Egypt. Let's go back south. Let's just go back. Let's go back down there by Pharaoh. Let's cross the sea and let's get back over there. So maybe there's a little bit of that idea that they're just constantly trying to abandon what's promised to them. We may even see more of that too with Sarah even. And so verse 2, get ready. Second verse, same as the first. Here we go again. Part 2, the sequel, volume 2. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. Yes, that's right. We're doing it again. We're playing this same game. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Abimelech. That could be either a name or a title. Melech in Hebrew is king. Okay? Abi, my father, king. All right? I'm leaning towards this being a title. All right? Think Caesar, think Pharaoh, emperor, what have you. Because we're going to see another Abimelech later. All right? So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. I'll remind you, Sarah's 90 years old at this point. And yet, she's still good enough looking the kings, right, want to take her to wife. I don't know if this has to do with her being blessed to have children at her ripe old age of 90, but regardless, she, I don't know, she takes care of herself, works out, what have you. She's in good shape. She's a very good-looking woman. And so, here we are again. Another powerful person takes Sarah to wife. But God, very interesting passage here. Instead of there being plagues, God goes to Abimelech and has a conversation. God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man." How would you like to go to bed tonight and have a dream and God says, "Behold, thou art but a dead man"? I'd probably just die from that. That would just be enough to end me. "For the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife." Really straightforward. This is one of those reasons why I decided let's just go ahead and cover chapter 20, because it is what it is, and I just don't know if I can come up with some grand overarching thing to tell you here. "But Abimelech had not yet come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Are we going to perish? Said he not unto me, she is my sister?" He told me that she was his sister. All right. And she even herself said, "He is my brother." So I guess Sarah's going along with it to some capacity. Whether she wanted to or she's just following orders, I don't know. But she said, "He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands have I done this." I didn't mean anything wrong. She's a pretty lady, and I just wanted to marry her. And I thought it was fine. They're brother and sister. It's okay. I didn't mean to do anything wrong. They lied to me. "And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her." I think that's the same thing that happened with Pharaoh. I don't think that she was touched by Pharaoh either. She's been Abraham's wife the whole time. "Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet." Now folks, this is the first time in all of the Bible that we have the word prophet. Okay? As you move forward, you're going to have to see how the word prophet is used in order to really grasp the weight of this and what this means. But what this means, this is a man that has revelation from God. He has authority from God, has power from God. But this is the first named prophet. Now we know Enoch would have been a prophet. I would probably say, I would imagine the Hebrew scholars would say that Noah was a prophet. They had revelation from God. They had a word from God. But Abraham's the first guy to be named a prophet. All right, here he is. He's a prophet. And then we kind of see this unique position Abraham has. He can intercede on behalf of people. "And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine." So do what he says. Restore her, otherwise you'll die. So very interesting there. We're going to have to continue to study to see all that plays out with Abraham being named a prophet. But now you know, the first person ever identified as a prophet by God is Abraham. "Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid." I think that goes without saying. Everybody, God talked to me in a dream and said, "We're all going to die unless I hand over the good-looking woman." Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, "What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin?" Very similar to Pharaoh, right? You brought these plagues upon me, now go, right? Get out of here. I just want you to leave. Take everything you have. "Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done." Once again, interesting. Pharaoh had a moral code. It's not right for me to take her. She's your wife. Abimelech, king of Gerar, has a moral code. It's not right for me to take her. She's your wife. These aren't just some lawless kings that'll do as they please. They're holding to the bounds of marriage here. "And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing?" What was your motives? Why would you do this? And Abraham said, because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. There's nobody who fears God. There's no morality here. So they're just going to kill me and take her anyway. So I might as well try to spare my life. It does make you wonder, Abraham, Sarah, she's been promised the seed. You know it at this point. Sarah knows it at this point. She's the one that's going to give birth, and you even know his name, Isaac. Why would you give her away? Now maybe you can say Abraham was just confident that it'll all work out. Everything's going to be okay. Or maybe it's just, once again, a lack of confidence on Abraham's part. Maybe he's just going back to what worked before, right? Hey, I managed to get out of things in Egypt, kept me alive there. Let's just do the same thing. The play works. Let's run it again. Also, if we are trying to look for some typology, once again, Israel just always trying to give away what God has blessed them with, right? Whether it's the land, the priesthood, always devaluing it, never really taking care of it as they should. Sarah is, this vessel, this ark, if you will, carrying the promised seed of Abraham, and yet here they are, just giving it away, being so careless with it, if we're going to take any typology there at all. Verse 12, and yet indeed she is my sister. I'm not lying entirely. These were back in the old days. This is probably about the most incest in any Bible study that we've ever had, right? She is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. Makes it okay, all right? So anyways, that is the case. We didn't know this actually until we read it here, that Sarah actually is Abraham's half-sister. Same father, different mothers. This is the case. It's very strange to us. We're not Abraham living in the year 2000-something BC. Okay? It is what it is. They're a product of their time. But that's the testimony. I do think that we would all say, though, their relation as brother and sister is overridden by the relationship of them being husband and wife. Okay, so she is his wife by all accounts, and she became my wife. So I wasn't technically lying to you here, Abimelech. I just didn't tell you the whole story. And it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house. Interesting statement there. God caused me to wander from my father's house. That I said unto her, this is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother. So this is a conversation they had before. They pre-planned all this. Hey, when we go into these places, we talked about it before. Sarah, you're good looking. I'm rather homely looking. Just please tell them that you're my sister so they don't kill me. I'd appreciate it. So I guess they're just sticking to the plan. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants. It works out for him again. I tell you what, if Abraham came to Bible study tonight, we'd probably all go to the casino after this, because man, everything turns up Abraham. And women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah, his wife. There you go. Once again, she is his wife. And Abimelech said, behold, my land is before thee. Dwell where it pleaseth thee. So stay, please, and stay where you'd like. And unto Sarah he said, behold, I have given thy brother. I don't know if he's just kind of being a little bit funny there. She is his sister. So I don't know exactly why he says brother instead of husband. But I've given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Now, I don't know that there's anything there that we can really pull from exactly. It may be related to this, though. Okay? I don't know exactly why. But it may play into this. 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes. Unto all that are with thee, and with all other, thus she was reproved. Kind of a strange verse there just to read. But when you think about it, you ponder on it. One more time, I'll read that nice and slow. He is to thee a covering of the eyes. Now her eyes, no, unto all that are with thee. Anybody who's with you, anybody who's around you, Abraham is a covering to their eyes. And with all other, thus she was reproved. I don't know if it has to do with the 1,000 pieces of silver here. Somehow that's a sign. Maybe in a way he put his kingly stamp on, listen, I am verifying that you are husband and wife. The people will know it. And if they try to do something and try to undermine that marriage, they've got a problem with me. It's almost like he is kind of saying, I'm putting my endorsement and my weight behind your marriage. No longer will anybody have issue. Look, he's got the king's silver. Possibly is a way that you could read that. It's not going to be a problem for them anymore. Okay, I think that's the point there. So Abraham prayed unto God. He's a prophet after all. And God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. Okay, that just kind of comes out of nowhere, but it tells us in verse 18, for the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. We don't know how long they were there, but long enough for them to realize, hey, we're not having any babies. And then as soon as Abraham prayed, they bore children. So very interesting passage there. And here's the thing. It's all the more strange when you get to Genesis chapter 26. Because in Genesis chapter 26, we're jumping ahead a little bit, and I'm just going to give you the brief and you can read up on it. A man named Isaac is going to travel to Gerar. And he's going to say to his wife, Rachel, tell them you're my sister. And a man named Abimelech, who is king of Gerar, is going to take Rachel to be his wife. Same verse, or the third verse, same as the first two. Why? I still haven't found a good answer by theologians or rabbis alike as to why do we see this thing repeat over and over and over again. I'm going to give you just a couple options. I've got them here in your notes here. As we read this strange account. So once again, we can speculate. There's some foreshadowing. Abraham giving Sarah away, Isaac giving Rachel, what have you, as Israel just for some reason never really holding on to their blessings and promises like they should. Always wanting to revert back. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's just give away the land promise. Let's not really take care of that ark like we're supposed to. Letting it fall into the Philistines. Let's travel with it carelessly and what have you. There's some speculation, some allegory you could maybe make there. If nothing else, there was a number of times in which the seed of woman, the promised seed of the Messiah, was in jeopardy. The promised mother taken from the house of Abraham, God got her back. Isaac, the promised son, and Rachel, God, I think I'm getting Rachel right there, got her back, right? I think that's right, but I'll have to go back and look now because as I'm saying it, I'm not sure. The point is, God ensured that the nation and the seed would be kept and preserved. God is not going to allow His plan to be thwarted. So when God declares something like Sarah will give birth to a son and you shall name him Isaac, doesn't matter what king does what. God is going to see to it that His declaration, His decree is fulfilled. I think that's what we're going to get out of it tonight. So, do I have anything from y'all before I cut you loose? That just your favorite Bible story ever? Do you think your family has problems? Let's see. Do we have anybody here who may have a question? We got Robert. We got Mary. Well, thank y'all for joining us. Appreciate all of you who are online, and thank y'all for being with us to study Abraham. And now you are an expert. And whether you wanted to be or not, you're an expert on Genesis chapter 19, verse 27 through chapter 20, verse 18. And we'll pick up in chapter 21 next Wednesday. Very exciting because Isaac will be born. All right? So let us close out in a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for this time that we've had to study your word, to explore the Bible. I pray that as we looked at these passages, Lord, if there is something deeper there, I pray that we would never be content and always be striving to search the Scriptures to get to a better understanding. Lord, if it's just as simple as that, we know that you have preserved your word, you've kept your promise. And Lord, I just pray that we would also, in the case of Lot's daughters, just always be willing to consider other possibilities instead of just assuming the worst or assuming the same narrative that we've always have heard is the correct one. Let us always search the Scriptures ourselves, trying to see really what the truth is and get down to the bottom of it, leaving no stone unturned. With that, we thank you for the gospel, the saving work of Jesus Christ. It's in His name that I pray. Amen. Thank all of y'all very much. Have a great night.